Hi, I'm Gloria Perez-Stewart of GPS Law Office here in Los Angeles, and today I'm talking about the top 3 things that you need to do for your child's IEP this January. So we are in a new decade, and I know that some people have had some slow starts, others not so much. But one of the things that we need to be thinking about now and is in January is the next school year and how our children are finishing out their current school year and their current special education programs. First thing you need to do is pull out the current IEP. You need to dust it off. You may not even know where it is. In that case, you need to ask the school district for a copy. But you need to pull out the current IEP that's in place for your child right now. You need to look at that in terms of the present levels of performance. You need to look at the IEP goals, the measurements of those goals, have any kind of progress reports that you have for those goals. If you don't have any, you need to request those now. Need to look at that and see if your child's really in the same place. You know, our children change quite dramatically. I know my son changes week to week, and sometimes you need to think about where your child was at the time of that IEP and if that still stands today. And that's really critical as we move forward in the next thing, which is pulling out, the second tip, pulling out those current assessments. And when I say current assessments, I mean all the assessments that were in place at the time that the current IEP was developed. And why I say that is because these are sort of foundation, sort of building blocks. And that assessment, you need to look at it and see if your child is still at the same place developmentally, socially, emotionally, academically. You need to look at the behaviorally especially. You need to look at that and see if your child's in the same place, because if they're not, you may need to be requesting new assessments. Which brings me to my third point, calling an IEP meeting. The reason you want to call the IEP meeting now versus later is because there are certain time frames for all of these things. If you decide maybe at the IEP, you can certainly ask for an assessment outside of the IEP process. The reason I'm asking you to go ahead and go into an IEP is because I would like you to get some things on the record in terms of your parental concerns. If you reviewed the IEP before, and you know that your child's not at the same place, it's nice to be able to tell that to the team in an IEP setting and say, this is where my child is, this is what I think is going on. They might need more services or supports, maybe they need less, maybe they've progressed quite a bit. You know, every child is different. But you want to say that in that context. And the other reason that you want to call that meeting now versus later is because if there are things that are going on behind the scenes that your child needs to have done, you know, the school district has a certain time frame. If you were to call an assessment today, they've got a certain time frame to conduct that assessment. And if the longer you delay that, the more you're looking at it as if you're going to be going past spring break, possibly past summer, in terms of, you know, I have parents that come to me and are requesting assessments at the end of the year. That's great, but then we've got summer break and we're looking at going back into the new school year with really nothing developed, no new assessments, no new plan, no agreed upon IEP goals. There's so many things that have to happen to develop a child's educational plan. So that's why my advice is to schedule the IEP meeting now versus later, so that you can get some things on the record with regard to where your child's progress is and where it isn't. Other tips, which that means that this is probably not necessarily 3 tips, but is that you need to go ahead and also take a friend with you to that IEP meeting. You know, I was a special ed advocate for 17 years, and I know intimately how emotional that process can be when you're talking about your child's deficits in a group of people, in a group of professionals. So it's something that you might want to bring a friend to, and I'm not saying a friend in terms of if they're a special ed advocate, that's great, but even if they're not, just somebody for the emotional support is really helpful. The other thing that you might want to do, it's probably tip number 5, is you do want to ask that or inform the school that you are going to be recording. You want to make sure that they know that, notify them, hey, I'm going to be recording the meeting. And you know, you have a time frame to do that in 24 hours here in California, but you really want to do that. I would do it at the time that I request the IEP. It's just a lot easier, and certainly make that in writing. So those are my tips. Those are my quick tips, 3 tips, 5 tips, who knows how many. So feel free to click the link below if you like this video and if you want to know when I'm going to put more out, or you can click the link below and schedule a meeting with me. Thanks so much, and you have a great day. Good luck.